It's time for us to talk about your money, a very interesting aspect of our lives, because think about it. Every day you wake up early, or many of us wake up early, go to bed late, and the main focus normally is just trying to get yourself financially free. However, it can be extremely frustrating sometimes because maybe you don't have the right path, maybe you're wondering how it's done, which is why this segment is important. Now, you're welcome to participate. Michelle is on standby, and she's going to be sampling some of your feedback as we go along with the show. So feel free to participate and let us know what your thoughts are via Twitter. Now, joining me to have that conversation is Waithaka Gatumia, who's a financial advisor based at Centonomy. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Michelle.
And maybe we can just start with a recap of what we talked about last time, which I found phenomenal because for me, I believe in practicing. I normally say that if you go to a class, you'll find A students and E students in the same class. So the problem sometimes is not the teacher, but the implementation of the lesson.
Good. So I guess we'll pick up from where we left off.
Precisely.
So we talked about at the beginning that you're richer than you think. And that was a discussion that we're having when we were saying that if you're richer than you think, where's your money actually going? And remember, Michael, I challenged you last time I was here. I mentioned for one day, usually we give this assignment for a month, but I told you for one day,
Just start one day.
Just go and write down every place that you spend money, every shilling that comes out of your pocket. Your teacher is here, hand in the assignment.
Okay, the experience is, and I texted him on this, so he's just doing this to make sure that I look bad, but it's okay. We'll sort this out later. But the experience was phenomenal, and this is the reason. It just so happened that I was going for a meeting, and somebody was late, so I decided, okay, now that he's running late, let me just sit in this restaurant and, have a cup of coffee. Wrote that down. Yeah. Please note, this was an expenditure I had not planned to spend that day. I think later on I went and found something that I thought looked, a nice gizmo, to work with. Again, bought that. And bottom line, and I texted him at about 3 p.m., I believe it was. So it was not even the end of the day.
No, you hadn't gotten home.
I had spent 2,000 shillings, which I had not planned to spend from morning.
And that's the point. We have money, but we're not in control of it. And all we're saying is be in control, have a plan. And so when you're using your cash and wherever you go, make sure you know what you're doing with it. Make sure it's purposeful. That's all. We're not saying don't spend. I'm like you. I love electronics. I love, eating out with friends. But make sure that there's order to it, and it's not just spending out of your pocket.
Because I think many of us do enjoy those things. Yes. But the bottom line is, at the end of the month, when you look at your money, you're wondering, what did I do with it? You actually have no account for it.
Exactly.
Do you actually keep your expenses on a daily basis?
I do. In fact, we do it, and I guess this fits into the discussion that we're having today, that no man is an island. Your wealth creation journey, you must have partners along the way. And in this case, my closest partner is my wife. And in fact, she's the one who manages our home finances. So she's a stay-at-home mom at the moment. I'm the one who's usually out doing shopping and various things. So my responsibility is write down and come home with all the receipts
of what you've spent.
Of what I've spent for the household, for myself, all the other things. And I hand them in dutifully at the end of the day, where she types them into one of the apps that we have that keeps track of all the expenses that we have, so that at the end of the month we're able to see, okay, maybe we're doing well here, we're not doing so well here, we do better. And it's all about getting better stage by stage, step by step. That's all that it is. So have partners that you can be accountable to, your wife, your family members, a teammate. If you're in an investment group, maybe those are the guys that you need to will help you keep accountable in how you're spending your cash, but also how you're investing and how much you're putting aside for the future.
Okay, you've brought in an interesting angle here, and this, of course, would reflect on what we talked about last week, because last week we were looking at partnerships again, but from a different perspective. And the financial advisor we had was a little bit jittery, first of all, about doing business with family. I'd like to know what your take is on that.
I can understand where he's coming from in terms of that description, that maybe family is not the best place to be, because often when you're with the people that you're comfortable with, there's no structure, there's no order, and things tend to be...
And boundaries are a little bit blurred.
They're blurred, and it's haphazard in the way that you do it. But if there's one thing I must applaud the Asian community in Kenya for, is the way that they're able to keep wealth within a family, and it goes from generation to generation. And so if you're telling me that it's not possible to create wealth within a family, that cannot be true. So the issue is, where is the structure? if you have a structure for your family business, if you have a structure for that idea for an investment group, then it's going to work. But if you have no structure and you're just here, neither here nor there, then it's not going to be able to work.
When we talk
out
about structure, Waithaka, what exactly are we talking about? Because let's use the same example you've used of the Asian community.
Yes.
They may not sit down and say that, this is our expenditure, I'm not sure if they have ledgers and all that. What sort of structure are we talking about?
You would be surprised.
That
We
they have it.
we have done research into some of these companies that have lasted generation to generation. There is order. It is like a company. All it is that they have assigned those roles to family members. And in fact, even within training of those family members, you will find that young people within the family actually go to study and do degrees and other courses that are going to help their family develop. So it's a planned idea. It is not something that just came out of a discussion in the house. No, there's order. They also bring experts from outside. You have lawyers who come and structure the company the way it's supposed to be. So I assure you, it is possible. If you really want to do it, have that structure in place. It works.
It works.
Yes.
All right, so structure definitely becoming a major part of if you're going to have partnership. What other partnerships can we leverage on?
Okay, I always like to start from the most basic. One of the biggest issues that we have currently and we're dealing with, especially when we're in class at St. Autonomy, is that we find that in a family, a husband and a wife are on a completely different financial journey. You're finding the husband is doing what he wants to do, the wife is doing what they want to do. There is no synergy in the home. And if there's no synergy at that basic level, how can you be able to grow? So we're encouraging people, talk about money in the house. In fact, we have found ourselves to be often marriage counselors because you find that the two things that people fight most about are sex and money. And if money is a big problem in the home, begin talking about it. The next level is the wider extended family. But what Kenyans are best at, and I think we're on the right track, is investment groups, or what we like to call them, chamas.
Right.
But I'm careful between those two words because there are some chamas that are just social, and then there are chamas that are actual investment
And let's
groups.
define those chamas, Waithaka, because you have, like you've mentioned, there are those social ones where the ladies, mainly, let me not just say the ladies, but those groups meet and possibly give 1,000 shillings every month, which is given to one member, then another member, but there is no structure of what happens to that 1,000 shillings. But you have others that come together and say, look, this is not just a social thing, but we are friends who can put in capital together, put in a structure, maybe put up a building, maybe buy a plot or whatever. How do we differentiate between the two and how do we leverage on those?
You've described them perfectly, Mike. In fact, you should be the teacher now. You have pooled resources and a merry-go-round. Now you tell me, between those two, which is an investment group? The merry-go-round is not an investment group. It's a zero-sum game. You're just continuously adding, then you take, you give, then you take. There's no growth. But if it is an investment group, what you're doing is pooling your resources. You have 100,000, I have 100,000, we put them together, that's 200,000. What 200,000 can do is twice what 100,000 can do. And then what you do at the end of it is share it proportionally amongst the group. As much as you have given, now you receive the proportion that you have given, and that you receive what you have given in terms of the proportion. But that is the difference now. We are trying to make sure that investment groups become professionalized. And we're not saying remove the social aspect of it, because I know we all like to be around our friends, and I like that you said it's just the ladies. No, gentlemen do the same thing. It's just not around tea. They're usually in a pub somewhere, nyama choma somewhere. It's happening. The thing is, make sure that you have both the social and the financial part of it. Be clear on what it is, what your goals are. Because the merry-go-round, yes, it can help you once in a while, but really there's no growth happening there. But if you pool your resources, and as you said, you purchase an asset, you invest in a business, all these different things will allow you to grow financially, and the sky is the limit, really, when it comes to such investment groups.
Now, the challenge is normally the fact that we are friends. So we don't have a defined structure. I'll give a basic example.
Yes.
Maybe let's agree that every month we're going to give 10,000 shillings towards this pool, then eventually invest it into something. Then 1 month, maybe I'm going through issues and I skip that 1 month. The next month, it becomes difficult for you as a friend to come and say, boss, I think now you've recovered from whatever issues you're going through, or I don't really care about the issues that you're going through. We have a commitment here. How does one handle that?
I think, first of all, as you said, you're coming from a social point of view. So be good friends and help each other out as much as you can. But this is another, I guess, hole that we've gotten ourselves into as Kenyans, where we've decided that you must give equally. I don't think that that is true. The issue is that so long as you're able to keep track of what each person has given, then you're able to give back in terms of proportion. I'll give you some advice, and this is the advice that we usually give to some chamas. If you're giving 10,000 bob each and you're probably maybe 10 people, that's quite a lot of money coming in, 100,000 shillings a month. Can you hire a young person to keep your records and to keep you in order? In essence, a manager for your financial group. Can you imagine if you did that? It brings a lot more structure. Then it removes the friendship issues, and say that manager will call you and say, hey, where's your contribution for this week? Versus me having to call Mike and say, hey, Mike, what's going on and all that. It removes that aspect and it professionalizes your investment group. So there are options that you can be able to use in order to grow. But I think this is the key. Make it professional. Don't just do the thing that we've been doing, the merry-go-round thing, where you have limited. That's another myth that we like to break as well. Why is it that everyone has to give the same amount?
Because logically speaking, maybe we are looking at we all need to be equal.
Why? Mike, I would like to be in an investment group with you. If you are able to give 1 million and I'm giving 100,000, you can imagine what that pool of resources can achieve versus my 100K alone. So the fact that that everybody is at a different, we are not the same. We're not earning the same.
And I guess this is
we have
now
different
where it becomes
responsibilities.
important to have the structure, because then you can divide it in terms of percentages.
Exactly.
Your giving is this much. And
Exactly.
All right. I mean, and I think that would apply really well for chamas and when you're working with a bigger pool of people.
Yeah.
But what about investments and businesses within couples, you know, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend? Because this is a thing I'd like to call lack of money intimacy or financial unfaithfulness. Because when it comes to a couple, there's that level of equality somehow. And when it comes to financial unfaithfulness, one does not really disclose how much they're earning. Maybe they understate their salary and, you know, the excess is pushed off to another secret account. And so it becomes difficult to even trust them when you're doing that business together. How do you go about that?
And just like in any business, if there is no trust, how can you grow?
transparency.
And transparency. And this is the thing. I don't know where this culture of this is mine and this is yours in relationships came. I don't know where that came from. And especially, we always we had a class on money and relationships a while ago, and we really had a hard time convincing ladies that be open. This idea that you have a hidden account somewhere.
Mine is mine.
This is
an emergency account, just in case. Just in case.
We encourage all couples and everybody who's on a financial growth pattern to have an emergency fund. Why don't you have a joint emergency fund?
But
Why
I mean,
not?
when it comes to couples,
Yes.
we've invested in a business. So it's you and me, and you earn more. You know, you have higher financial capacity, and so you invest more in the business. So when the profits come, what happens? Do we get half-half? I didn't invest half-half.
You see,
Do
that's
get more?
the thing. Maybe I'm a romantic in a certain way. Maybe I am, or maybe I'm an idealist of some kind. But I believe as families, it is family wealth. What is yours is mine, and what is mine is yours. I think when I said the vows at the pulpit, I said everything is mine. You become one. At least that's my understanding. And if you have not, and you've decided your relationship is, I don't know what to call it, then do it proportionally. Whatever you put in, it's a percentage growth that you're growing with. And that would be helpful, not just between a married couple, but within families, extended families, where you have more uncles, aunties, cousins, all these different groups coming together. But I think at the most fundamental level, be honest with one another. If you cannot trust each other, then you cannot invest together.
And that is not just talking about a couple or a relationship, it's business partners.
Business.
Is it important, just to bring in or add to what Michelle is saying, is it important for a couple or friends, because this is not just a couple, but even friends, to view the business angle of this purely as business and remove the coupleship or the friendship?
I think it makes sense. It makes sense to me to do that.
Especially when there's a possibility of, say, a couple that's not married, there's a possibility of a breakup. I mean, all relationships can go wrong, even if it's that chama of people. I
agree with you, but I think, as I said, I'm an idealist and an optimist. Right. I want this relationship to work, whether it's in business or whether it's at the home. So what are you planning for? For success or for failure? I think be prepared, but don't go into it thinking that at some point I need an out. No. Go into it thinking, how do we make this better? How do we grow this company? How do we grow this relationship? And so at the most basic level, trust is key. If you cannot trust the person you're investing with, I don't know why you should be investing together.
All right, your advice maybe then on investing, because you'll find also we have another level of leveraging, which is, say, colleagues. For instance, Michelle and I might decide, okay, there's a gap in a certain market where we can buy shoes from wherever, Turkey, and sell them. But here we are as colleagues. What are the structures that we should put in place? Because it is bound to interfere, even maybe with our daily work.
Just make a clear agreement beforehand, a clear agreement on what you're going to be doing, how it's going to be done, and how the profits are going to be shared. If it is clear beforehand, then you're not going to find yourself in trouble along the way. The problem is that we usually get into these agreements and then we find ourselves asking, okay, so now that we have made so much money, where is it going to be invested? Why don't you have a plan onto how to discuss these things beforehand? The problem is that we get into things without thinking, and I think I would not be wrong in saying that many people get into marriages without thinking. Because you get into it and then afterwards you're asking yourself, okay, how are we doing this?
Yeah.
What's going to happen here? No. Plan. Have an agreement beforehand. If there's one thing that you're going to do as a family, especially those who are getting married or those who are planning to get married at some point, discuss money. Because you need to be clear. It's the same discussion that you have, where people say the man must earn more. You know what I mean? There must be, whatever other myths there are around there. Why?
Okay.
Have you understood them?
Now, what is the danger of going it alone? Because from what we're describing, there is potential stress and even enmity that can be created out of these partnerships. Yet, there are some who might say, you know what, I've done this on my own, so really I don't need it. What's the danger of going it Lone Ranger?
I really don't think there's anybody who has created wealth on their own. There's always a partner somewhere. There's always a colleague somewhere. There's always even just a business relationship along the way. You can't do it by yourself. The best thing about relationships is there's always somebody else to keep you in check. Just remember that in life, you're not perfect. There are going to be times that you're up and there are times that you're down. Why don't you have a partner who's able to keep you up and hold you as you go through those tough times, and you do the same for them in their tough times? The reason that we have all these relationships is to build our potential. That's what it is. We are stronger together. That's what it is. We are stronger together than we are apart. It's so easy to be able to be picked off in case there's a problem along the way if you don't have somebody supporting you. As you said, even in the investment groups, as you said, that sometimes you're not able to contribute. But does that end the contributions towards the growth? No. Everyone else will continue, and this group will support one another until you're able to get back on your feet. The reason is that we find ourselves, when you find yourself alone, it is a very easy place for you to fall and to be destroyed.
All right, your thoughts on something that is not so uniquely Kenyan, but thrives a lot in Kenya, and this is the use of cooperatives. We have the normal bank institutions, then you have the cooperatives. Maybe pooling together into a cooperative, which is already an organized system, to come together and now pool resources towards investments. Your thoughts on that?
I think there are beautiful too, cooperatives and SACCOs as well. I mean, that's what most people are looking at in terms of their current investment plan. And I think it is a very beautiful tool, so long as there's order as well. Make sure that there's order within the teams that are managing. Just like you would invest in a company, you want a good management team, isn't it? So in that SACCO, in that cooperative society that you're part of, make sure there's a good management team. Ensure that they have a plan. Make sure that they have investment goals that they're keeping you abreast of along the way. Because the issue is where there's, again, if there's secrecy as to where your money is going, if there's a bit of unclarity as to where it is being invested or being stored, then you're going to find yourself in trouble. So make sure that as you're doing this, you know who is managing your money and that they're professionals. These are a beautiful, beautiful tool, and I think Kenyans are doing well in this kind of contribution.
Right, and there's other relationships as well, because there's workmates, there's spouses and children, and there's the chama, but also the fact that the people that we meet on a day-to-day basis, those are relationships that we also form. So if it's a business manager, a CEO, how does one capitalize on keeping that relationship and using it to get up the ladder?
I think one of the things that has proved very useful for me is always to be alert to what does that person require. It's kind of like when you're going in for a sale. For instance, if you're selling a product, don't go and tell them all about what the product is before you have heard what does this person need.
Right.
So if you are in line with what somebody requires, what are their needs, then you will always be top of mind. I think that's the idea that you're talking about, that somebody would remember you through the networks that you're talking about. And it's where you have met them at their point of need. If they can see that, hey, Michelle will be able to, I don't know, help me with my marketing strategy and my plan because she gave me a small idea, then you will be remembered. But if you just come in and give your card, oh, I'm Michelle from KTN, and I don't need Michelle from KTN, I need somebody to help me with my
So the
marketing
idea is to
plan.
approach someone and tell them what's in it for them.
Find out what they need.
Right.
And
What
see
problem
where
are you
you
solving?
exactly and where you can meet them at that point. Yes.
All right, now, we're still talking about leveraging on relationships and making sure that one is using their networks. What is the rule of thumb that one must keep regardless of now the relationship, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a friend, whether it's a CEO like she has mentioned, rule of thumb, something that you must be wary of?
Trust. If you cannot trust somebody, do not invest with them. And I think that is the key. Begin from a point of trust and openness and clarity. And in fact, if you even look at the major business deals that are done across the globe, why they bring in teams and teams of lawyers is to remove all doubt and, you know, all the hidden places, to bring light into the hidden and dark places amongst the businesses so that you understand that this is the true picture of our situation and this is the direction that we're going to go. I think on that question, I just wanted to add one more issue. Make sure that along your wealth creation journey that you engage professionals. I think this is one of the areas that we make a huge mistake. Oh, Mike, I'm your cousin from I don't know where, and there's a piece of land that I know that you would like, yes? You go into it and you say, no problem, because he's my cousin, let me buy.
Must be good.
Does your cousin know the area? Does he know the law? Does he know the possibilities that this piece of land is going to bring? Is there a title deed? All these various things. Why don't you engage a real estate agent, a professional in that area, to be able to assist you to understand what you're getting yourself into? Why are you investing in the stock market and you have not spoken to a stockbroker? It's the whole issue why people lose money in the stock market. It is a good place to be able to invest if you only understand and are getting the right advice. Don't go it alone.
And I guess engaging a professional also answers the question of, if we come in together, the three of us, if we decided we're going into an investment, you might feel buying a piece of land is what will make us money. Another might feel maybe investing in a transport company might be what will bring in money. But the professional now can help us structure the investment plan.
That's a perfect piece of advice you have just given. In fact, Mike, you should just continue from here. Let me go home, because that's exactly what we're talking about here. When you're speaking to a professional, they're able to answer those deep questions. Why is it better to get into transport versus real estate? Why? What skills are you leveraging as a group to do so? And if you're not doing that, if you're not asking the right questions to the right people, you're headed for doom. Make sure you have some advice, even in banking. Why do you think they have so many people? When you go to your bank, there are all these people seated around. They are there to answer your questions. If you want to take a loan, ask them. What will happen if I default? What will happen? You know what I mean? Talk about all the outcomes that can come out of it if you ask the right question to the right professional. Please.
Right. And speaking of asking right questions, just before we wind up, Eric Onchonga here is asking, because you're a professional, what is the best investment one can venture into in this century?
The experts.
What is the name again? Sorry, Michelle?
His name is Eric Onchonga.
Eric.
Yeah.
This is the response I always give to such questions. If I knew Eric, what the best investment was in this century, I would not be seated here. I would be somewhere on my private island with my jet and my boat somewhere. Exactly. That is exactly what I would be doing. The thing about investment is that it is a journey. Everyone is looking for that quick fix, that quick get-rich-quick scheme. It doesn't work like that. Take the time to spend working on your wealth creation journey, and you will get there. It is a discipline to get to that place. Just the way you talked about tracking your expenses, knowing where your money is going, that's a discipline. Making sure that you invest and pay yourself first is a discipline. If you do those things, wealth is on the way.
It's on the way. All right, Wadaka, we'll have to wind up right there. Thank you so very much. And I can see a question also coming in. The app that you talked about, I'm sure there are several.
Oh, there's so
that
many.
keep your money
Please go
tracked.
to the Play Store and to the App Store.
What do I look for? What do I search for?
Tracking your expenses or managing money. You will find
Several apps.
many applications.
Thank you very much. Waithaka Gatume, who's a financial advisor and from Centonomy. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Mike.
But this is where we'll have to wind up, Michelle.
Absolutely. And we thank you for joining us here on Morning Express. And